Hey everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another royal news video. So there's lots of stories that have come out in the recent days to do with Harry and Meghan. So this unfortunately is a Harry and Meghan video. I promise you next week the royals will start being a bit more active and we can get back to talking about them. But these stories are pretty big, whilst they do involve other members of the royal family as well. Now, at the time of filming this, Harry and Meghan are en route to Colombia. This video has got nothing in it to do with the tour. I will, of course, be making notes all over the weekend, and I will bring you a video come Monday to talk about what I think most of us know is an impending PR disaster. Now, for my first story, the royals are obviously up in Balmoral enjoying their summer holidays, but also Balmoral is a place where they all meet up and they do get together and do business meetings as well, talking about the future of the royal family. Now, this has broken into the news and I'm not sure if I believe it or not. And this is to do with Harry and Meghan are now being considered to having their titles stripped. Now, as most of you guys know, it takes an act of parliament to strip the dukedom. As you can see by the state of the UK and the government, they're too busy arresting people for tweets at the moment. But there's obviously lots of other things going on with our country, and I don't think removing titles for Harry and Meghan is going to make it high up on the list in the Houses of Parliament. But apparently the king can remove the prince title. This would give a domino effect, meaning that Archie and Lily would then also lose their prince and princess title. For those reasons alone, I cannot see the king doing such an act. So this one I'm taking with a pinch of salt because I cannot see that the family would actually try and do this. As I said, the government, everything that's going on. So we will have to wait and see. But Harry and Meghan are on a very, very destructive course. They will be coming up against the royals shortly, as I will talk about as this video goes on. Now, as for Harry and Meghan on their way to Colombia, a story has come out which paints Harry in a very bad light, and that is his uncle has passed away and Harry is refusing to come to the UK for his funeral. Lady Jane Fellows is Diana's sister who has supported Harry and Meghan. More recently, we saw Lady Jane and Charles Spencer, Diana's brother, attend the Invictus 10th anniversary in London to show their support for Harry. Now that his uncle has died, you think that Harry could in fact return the favour for his auntie Lady Jane, who has obviously stuck her head above the parapet to show him support. But no, it would seem Harry only cares about certain members of his family when it suits him. Kindness and compassion in action yet again. But it just makes it a complete farce, the fact that he can go to Colombia, he can go to Nigeria, he can go do all of these things, but he will not come to London and he will not attend his own uncle's funeral. That shows you his priorities. So moving on to the next story, it's been made public by sources close to the couple that they were very upset at the public snub and not be invited to Balmoral. So Meghan has now apparently, according to this one article, has decided that the time is right to in fact put pen to paper. I said it, didn't I? I called it when she did that threat in the CBS interview about how she's barely scratched the surface. Well, apparently Meghan is putting pen to paper and will be writing her memoirs, which I'm sure are probably mostly already written. Yes, whilst the King and Catherine are still battling cancer, she feels the time is right to set the record straight again. The thing is, I don't think Meghan understands the terminology of what setting the record straight means. When Meghan and Harry have tried to set the record straight, rather than it being straight, it's more woo-doo-doo, woo-woo-woo, and back again we go, and then we retell it a different way and another way. So obviously this is going to be a book that's not going to have a lot of credibility before it's even come into print. Now, the sources said that they are upset that they were being labelled as outcasts and now they are being forced to find a strategy to fight back. All of her friends are supporting her and they are saying that now is the time that the gloves must come off. A few videos ago, we were discussing the fact that Harry and Meghan are one-trick ponies. The deals are drying up. No one wants to work with them. They've been laughed out of Hollywood Two big power players in the Hollywood industry circuit have called them as being talentless, that they are lazy grifters. They want everyone to do the work for them and they just pick up the paycheck. They don't give credit to anybody. All these two have got, and what they ever had any interest in them, was their connection to the royal family. So what they are now going to obviously try and sell them down the river again. But as long as the royals keep them at arm's length, Harry and Meghan can have no new material. And as we know, they like to make up stuff as they go and backtrack. So I don't think even if Meghan brings out a book, anyone is going to take it seriously at all, because they know that she and Harry lie an awful, awful lot. Perhaps this is part of the reason why their staff are leaving at such an alarming rate as well, because they know that Harry and Meghan aren't really doing that much when it comes to charity and all of the things that they spout about. Yes, they take charitable photo shoots, they pose with the right people at the right events, then they don't really put their money where their mouth is. They donate the bare minimum, collect awards to pat themselves on the back. Is it any wonder that the staff are saying, do you know what, we're out? From the last video that I did, many of you guys agree with me that there is something very highly suspicious that Josh Kettler, their chief of staff, quit mere days before this big trip to Colombia. Many of you think like me that perhaps they're getting ready to stage something. I don't think anything very serious, but maybe just a security incident, much like what we saw in New York. The thing is, if anything does genuinely happen to them, as I said, I hope nothing serious, but maybe they do have a genuine threat to life or a really scary thing that happens, no one's going to believe them. They are both the boy that cried wolf, and let's just hope they don't get eaten this time. As for Josh Kettler's job to try and make the couple look good, to try and make everything about this trip look good, I mean, already it's being destroyed. A story came out courtesy of a blind that Meghan is going to be visiting an emerald processing centre. No doubt Madam is after a freebie. Given that Colombian emeralds are the finest and most prized in the world, Meghan is clearly not going to care how bad it looks, because she didn't care when she was part of the royal family and she wore those diamond chandelier earrings. A gift from a Saudi prince who in that same particular month was being accused of ordering a death of a journalist. So people were saying they were blood diamonds. It was really bad that she wore them. You also have to bear in mind it's common knowledge that Saudi Arabia has a pretty shocking track record for human rights, especially if you are a woman. But hey, they're diamonds after all. When it comes to jewels, I'm sure Meghan forgets that she's an altruistic feminist humanitarian. They are diamonds after all, eh, Meg? It's clearly obvious there are plenty of reasons why the chief of staff decided to jump ship before going. They don't listen to anyone, and it could just be as simple as they just treat their staff badly. Bearing in mind he's meant to be the chief of staff, if he is seeing Harry and Meghan that have got an absolutely shocking record of their treatment of staff from even when they were members of the royal family, he could have just decided that I'm not going to sit back and watch this continue, because it is pretty big that he, as I said, left just mere days before this tour started. So something big happened, and I don't think it was anything good or mutual. So let's move on to our next story, and this all comes back to RO. Yes, American Riviera Orchard. I'm calling it. I'm officially calling it. It's going to flop, and it's going to join a long list of other things that Meghan has done, and she has made it flop. Well, she hasn't made it flop because she hasn't actually done anything to make it a success. Lots of news stories have come out showing that aside from the cheesy video and setting up RO on Instagram, she's done absolutely nada. Zip. Nothing to promote it, not got staff involved with it, no new products, absolutely nothing has been done. But she has got some excuses in place as to why. First up, we've got that the trademark has run into problems. There are lots of irregularities in the paperwork, which has meant it has been classified incorrectly. There's now going to be a big delay whilst they make all of the corrections. Sounds rather familiar, doesn't it? The exact same thing happened to their Archetypes podcast. Then they had the Archwell penalties and delinquent status for not doing their accounts or paying their bills on time. Bearing in mind, Harry and Meghan are meant to have all these top executives working for them, business managers, business lawyers. It seems pretty shocking that they would be making such silly mistakes on things that should be quite basic. Perhaps it's because they've actually got no idea of what she's going to sell. Dog biscuits and some crappy looking jam is the only thing that we have seen so far. An insider apparently close to the couple has revealed that she is apparently going into the rosé wine industry. Aside from drinking it, I highly doubt that Meghan Markle is going to break into the rosé market and make it a success. There are already a massive industry oversaturated with celebrities, likable celebrities that have got their own brands of various alcohol. The wine industry in the US alone is worth $330 billion. The only wine that anyone is ever going to associate Meghan with is going to be what comes out of her and Harry's mouths. Now, moving on to my final story. This one, I'm struggling to believe this one. I think that this is being drip-fed to the public in readiness of Meghan's RO and her cookery program flopping, and she's getting ready to blame Netflix, like she blames Spotify, like she'll no doubt blame Lemonada. You know, it's a continuous thing with Meghan. She is never responsible for anything that fails. According to a new report, Netflix have turbocharged the plans for RO, taking over all executive roles and delivering deals with wholesalers, designers, growers and retailers. It will take 8 months for the trademark to be examined and 14 months for them to be registered. Just in time for Netflix to squish what's left of their contract. Spotify, remember, did something very similar. They were trying to get their money's worth out of Meghan. They made it so easy for her. Meghan had a studio built in their mansion, wherever it was that they were living at the time, a recording studio. Members of Spotify staff and another agency called Gimlet were the ones that were involved with creating archetypes alongside a couple of their producers, like I said in the last video, Rebecca Sananes. She was one of them who Meghan took full credit for. They interviewed certain guests for Meghan. She didn't have to do anything, no editing. She just had to turn up, speak to a few people and walk away. And still, with like 30 producers working on it, we had the 12-part archetypes, which, as we know, it was another flop. So it could make sense that Netflix are going, right, we've got to take over this if we're going to get anything out of this deal, because it's clear that Harry and Meghan are living up to their lazy grifters titles. But this is where I struggle to believe this story. You're telling me that Netflix is now taking over the launch of RO and all of the products because they're trying to time it with a cookery show that they finished filming the other month that's got no name and no release date. Now, not only that, Netflix is a streaming platform. It's already struggling to keep hold of subscribers, putting too many woke programs on there, and they have lost millions and millions in stocks and shares. You know, they brought in someone recently, haven't they, to make sure that they streamline, they put out less films but of better quality. As I said, I've been through Netflix flicking. That shouldn't be too hard. But now we're meant to believe that Netflix, just for Meghan Markle, is venturing into buying food produce stocks, dealing with wholesalers, retailers, all for her cooking show and her non-existent lifestyle enterprise that so far we've seen her promote jam and dog biscuits. It's not believable in the slightest, is it? Nothing about RO, the cooking show, Netflix, all of these stories coming out ever adds up. It's like Meghan launched it when she thought of it. She was just stood there in her kitchen flicking through the Flamingo Estate books that we know she had on the shelf, and she thought, oh, I love a good plagiarism. I know, I've got an idea. Quickly filmed her marching around the halls in a ball gown, stirring a bowl in the kitchen that was probably empty, quickly touching some flowers, voila, and the video came out the same day. Let's be honest, it wasn't a great video and we've had nothing since. In a way, this was just Meghan. It's just another personality. Meghan just goes, oh, what am I going to be this week? But the problem is this particular skin suit that she decided to wear really damaged the credibility of some of her other personalities. Archetypes was about taking apart sexist stereotypes about women. Meghan, the women's rights activist and feminist, who without fail always brings up the sexist washing up makeup commercial that she complained about when she was 11 years old. Yet she launches her new lifestyle venture wearing ball gowns, arranging pink flowers, baking in the kitchen. Where was the advocating for equal rights, gainful employment, fair wages, body autonomy for women? Where was that Meghan? That Meghan was long forgotten. Now we've got the soft and pink and girly Meghan that is going to be promoting the joys of cooking, friendship and entertainment. Let me get my flowery pinny right now and jump into the kitchen. So yes, as for all of these stories that are coming out being drip fed, it's something to do with the trademark issues. It's going to take months to correct, up to 14 months for it to be completely registered, despite having all of those top lawyers and people working for her. Then you've got Netflix are the ones that have taken over everything. Netflix have taken over management. The fact that the show still doesn't have a title, it's been pushed back to 2025 because of these issues. I honestly think that Netflix are just getting ready to squish their deal next year. I do not see that show making it to the light of day. I think that they helped her film that show just for contractual obligations. Because if they drop her and they turn around and say, we've dropped it because like Spotify, you did absolutely nothing, Meghan could perhaps countersue to say that it was Netflix's fault. They didn't do enough to help me, like what she did with Spotify when, as we know, they built a studio for her and gave her loads of staff. Of course, she's going to do the same for Netflix, and they can say, hey, we actually helped you film a cookery show. It's not our fault that you didn't do anything else. One thing that is always guaranteed about Meghan, no matter what personality or skin suit she's wearing, no matter what company it is, no matter who she's working for, when it goes tits up, it is never, ever Meghan Markle's fault. So guys, that's it for me on this video. Lots of stuff to unpack. Tell me your thoughts in the comments. I will try and chat to as many of you as I can. I think this is it from me for the weekend. I will be back Monday, and obviously I will be going over everything that the couple get up to in Colombia. And you like that already, aren't you? You can feel it. So guys, have a wonderful weekend and I will see you soon. Take care for now. Bye.